Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60 and an update on what is happening with the cheap AliExpress brake kit. So in the last episode you would have seen that the rear brake bracket just doesn't fit. And I wasn't sure if they were manufactured incorrectly or they've sent me the wrong one. So I kind of ended that video off quickly so I could catch the guys in China on Wednesday before they shut down for the day and see if I can get some information on what the go is. Now, unfortunately, because of the language barrier, there was a lot of back and forward with a lot of messages. Look, long story short, they didn't actually explain why my bracket doesn't fit, whether it was supplied incorrectly or whether their data is incorrect. It's definitely a difficult process, and I sort of touched on it in the very first email. I had my doubts about fitment, even though I'd specified a lot in the messages before I paid for the kit what I needed them to fit, wanted to make sure they were confident they were going to fit, and they always said, yes, we'll fit, but anyway, turns out they didn't. Long story short, I think, although they haven't confirmed, they've just sent me the wrong bracket. Where it gets difficult, and I'll show you the brackets. So here we have, that is a front caliper bracket, that is a rear caliper bracket. Now they come with, obviously, 2 bolts for each, the rear one just being a little bit shorter, and that's because the hole that it slides through on the hub is slightly thinner on the rear one than it is on the front. However, front works fine. These are M12 bolts. On the E92 335, the rear caliper bolts are M10s, and I should have probably noticed this when I took the original bolts off that they're smaller. The problem with that is, with an M10 bolt, as it goes through the bracket, it needs to screw into an M10 hole, where these are M12 holes. Now this bracket, like I said, they haven't told me if it's made wrong or if they've sent me the wrong one, but I could make this bracket work if I was to trim out some material from this section here, and it would actually sit up, line up with the holes on the car and basically bolt on, apart from the bolt size, because this M12 bolt will not slide through the hub in the car. I'm not going to say what they suggested initially, but long story short, they're making me another set of rear brackets and supplying some other bolts. That is going to take, well, they've told me 3 or 4 days, and obviously I will update you guys with how good that process is, or whether they end up messing me around or anything like that. I will let you know, I'll keep you in the loop. But where do we go from here? I guess I can show you what we've done, or what I've done. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to touch the car yesterday, and to be honest, I was still going backwards and forwards with the guys in China about this yesterday, and it was about lunchtime yesterday that they sort of admitted that they had supplied the wrong bracket and they're going to do the right thing and it not cost me any money, which is good and not what I sort of expect when dealing with China guys. You've really got to take any customer service you get from those guys over there as a win, but yeah, I mean, it was like hours of messaging to get them to sort it out. So it's a bit annoying, not like dealing with a local company, but I also understand why they want to make sure that I'm not just doing something wrong, because there's a lot of people fitting car parts that probably shouldn't be fitting car parts, myself included. Anyway, so this one here, I've actually got it fully installed now. Brake line's on, caliper's mounted perfectly, the rotor is mounted up perfectly. Now, what I had to do, my hubs, now we live in Queensland, we don't really get a lot of issues with corrosion. As you can see, this car is quite old and that's what it looks like. But my hubs were actually quite rusty. They took a lot of sanding. I ended up getting emery tape on there to smooth off the hubs and get them perfectly flat. And that was the only way I could get the rotor to sit flat and spin freely like it does. So something to take note on. Make sure your hubs are clean when you're changing your brake discs. The other thing I encountered, the brake hose, actually, brake line I should say. Oh, that was the other thing. They've supplied me 4 of these brake lines, which are wrong. That's another thing we have agreed that they're going to sort out, some shorter brake lines for the rear. But these brake lines, so the factory brake line has 2 mounting points. I shall show you on the other side here, which I still haven't taken off yet. But hopefully you can see there, it's got a rubber grommet there and then a rubber grommet just up in there. I hope the GoPro's picking that up. But basically 2 points that hold the line. And you can see those rubber grommets on the standard one, they're about 2 inches apart. So they'll be about there and there. Now these ones are obviously more than 2 inches apart, and what that means is when you've got it up on the car, there's no rubber grommet here, and because of the spring they fit, which I guess is some nice protection, but you can't get the other grommet where it needs to be, it is, hopefully you can see, but it is down the bottom there. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do yet. In fact, let me know what you guys think I should do. Should I cut the spring and move the grommet, cut the grommet and slide it up here, or just zip tie that up in place? I'm not 100% sure, but that is something I've got to do yet. Bolting the caliper on. The other day I mentioned that there is about 1/2 mil of movement in the caliper on the bolts, which may be good for alignment, but I think my issues with alignment were caused by my rusty hub not being perfect. Now, the few times I've bolted it up, it has bolted fine. I think I've fitted this about 4 times now before I was happy with everything. And lastly, something that somebody else did ask about, the brake pad wear sensor. Now, the brake pads that they have supplied in these front calipers, they do have the groove for the brake pad wear sensor, and as you can see there, it actually fits perfectly solid. So you don't have to do a pad wear sensor delete with this kit, which is pretty damn good. And the other thing that I need to let you guys know about is wheel fitment on these 380mm rotors. So they are 380mm, and pretty much everyone on the internet says you cannot run 18-inch rims. However, I found a couple of posts where guys were using aftermarket wheels and they did get clearance around these ridiculously large calipers. But here I have 2 18-inch wheels. This is a cheap, speedy wheel. Actually, they might not have been cheap, but I don't even know why we have this. We have this old speedy wheel here. It's an 18-inch aftermarket 5x120 wheel, which will bolt onto a BMW. And that one there, I actually have a set of these wheels that I was keeping for, well, the intentions of putting some sticky rubber on them. They're 18-inch factory E90 wheels. There's quite a few E90s with them, I'm sure you've seen them. But I'm going to see if the 18-inch OEM wheels, how close they go to squeezing over the caliper. So what I might do, I'll set you guys up on this here tripod with much difficulty. Okay, and let's see how close the wheels get to going on. I'm going to try the aftermarket one first, and I guess all aftermarket wheels are going to be different with different barrel thicknesses. That's hitting the caliper. Ugh, okay, so that one is not even close. We're probably a good 20 mil too big, that caliper. And let's try the genuine wheel, which has a tire on, so it's nice and heavy. What's the best way to do this without scratching the caliper? Ugh. Oh, this one's got more clearance. Okay, that's about, it's definitely hitting the caliper, but that is about 10 mil. That's about 10 mil from going on. So it's closer than the aftermarket one, but not going to go on. Ugh. And, okay, so we've confirmed that 18s won't go on. But one thing that was concerning, that genuine wheel, the actual spokes were hitting the caliper, but the face of the wheel was nowhere near going on the hub. So I guess I need to make sure my 19s are going to fit. This could be close. Let me get a 19. God, wheels seem really heavy today. Let's see how close this one is. Ugh. That is close, but it's on. Holy shit, it's close. They weren't kidding. Okay, damn. I wasn't expecting it to be that close. I'll bring you guys over and you can see. That's, we've probably got 4 mil, 3 mil of clearance just there. And up the top. Damn, that is close. But luckily they do fit. And that kind of looks pretty cool. Apart from that silly logo which should not be on it. Well, I think the fronts are going to work. Okay, there is one more thing I did want to talk about, which I've now covered up since the wheel. But maybe you can see in there, I might just put another light on it, 2 seconds. Can you see the dampness underneath the brake bleeder? So basically, I got really excited and just hooked that brake line up. And as soon as you hook the brake line up, obviously the brake fluid starts feeding into the caliper, and it bled all the way into the caliper and then out the bleed holes because I hadn't locked them off. Now with these bleed holes, bleed nipples I should say, now I'll just take this one out so you can see, and they're supplied from China unnipped, which is, maybe it's a normal thing, but yeah, that basically oil will just come out of them. But they have a conical fitting on the end, which we can get it out. So they have a conical fitting, and then that little hole, which is what lets the oil come out the top of the bleed nipple. And the conical fitting just goes in the end and actually seals up against the point there. So if it seals on this edge here, the brake fluid can't get to those holes on the side. Simple thing, but because it wasn't done up tight, the oil has leaked out and It's now in the threads, unfortunately. I can't think of a way to clean the brake fluid out of the threads without cracking the bleed nipple and more brake fluid going everywhere. So I do need to try and just keep an eye on that and make sure when I do the other side I don't have the same problem. Yeah, so I am pretty happy with how the fronts have gone on. Yeah, look, I'm going to keep you guys in the loop about how long it takes them to sort out the issues with the rear ones. I'm going to run just the front ones for now, see what it's like. I'm sure it's going to mess with the brake bias. I'm not going to do any speedy driving, anything exciting until I've got the rear ones on. I'm just going to plot around and just make sure they sort of bleed up all right and work okay under normal loads. What do I need to say? One other thing. 2 different AliExpress sellers have commented on the main video, which is a bit comical. They've said, we supplied these brakes, here's my WhatsApp, contact me here. I've deleted the comments because they're not the people I bought the brakes from. And the person I did get the brakes through, I've asked them if they know the other 2 people and they've never heard of them. So there's some shifty things that goes on. Like China is a bit of it's the wild, wild west of the retail world at the moment. So keep that in mind if you are hunting AliExpress to try and find these brakes. I wouldn't be surprised if they tell you I did get them through that company, but who knows whether it is them or not. So look, if you're thinking about getting them, just hold off for a few more weeks and we'll make sure that these are definitely going to be good and make sure they do the right thing with the rear ones and not mess me around. The company I did buy them from, they are aware of the video. So I'm not sure if that's going to help them be quicker at fixing the problem or make any difference, but I'll let you know what the outcome is and whether they do what they say they're going to do. Anyway guys, look, quick update on the brakes. Tomorrow's video, I've actually got a new dash cam for the van that we need to fit. I'm going to finish doing the brakes tonight. This one is fitted and finished apart from bleeding, so I'll let you know if there's any issues bleeding them up, although I'm not expecting there to be. Yeah, the next update you see on the brakes will maybe be me test driving the fronts, or it'll be when I've got the rear sorted. So anyway, thank you very much for following along. If you got any questions about them, hit us up in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on how to sort out the brake line with the 2 locator bungs, these little jobbies. If you think I should just cut the spring and move the other one up, let me know, because I haven't worked out what I want to do yet. But my oh my, I can't stop spinning them. They do look good. But I'm going to change the logo. And at this point, I'm not sure I understand. Fucking Siri. I'm going to change the logo. And at this point, I think I'm going to go with 60 to 0. I think. I liked that one. A few other guys mentioned it as well. So 60 to 0 brakes. There we go. All right, guys. Until the next one. Peace. I even tire shined it. God, they look cool. Really like the floating hat. That is a cool look. And then you have this manky thing on the back. Man, I hope they hurry up and get that bracket sorted. Jesus. Sexy, sexy rotor. GoPro.